In this video, we will have a look on object relationships. So yeah, object has relationships too. It's a little like humans, but not exactly the same. Let's say less complicated. So here we have our two objects that we will not keep for this tutorial. So we will just select the lamp and the camera. I will just remove them with X, and I will select here my cube. And I would like to make a basic shape of a table. So let's take our cube here, and with SZ, okay, we just go like that and make the top of my table like this. Okay, I will go into orthographic view like this. We will see a little more what I do. Okay, and now I will add here another cube, and this cube we will just make the leg of the table. So for this we will make an SX 0.1, okay, to have something like this, and we will make a SY 0.1 to have something like that. And in front view now we can move our object with the control key active, and like this you can just put the leg where you want exactly. So exactly here. Perfect. Now on the top view you can still see your leg here, the leg of the table, not yours, and here you will go into wireframe and make a GY, and with the control active you can just place your leg where you want. Then with Shift D we will duplicate this leg and we will just constrain it into the X-axis, and with the control key it will be the same, and the same for Shift D, Y and control, Shift D, X and control. Okay, and we will have 5 objects and a kind of table, let's say. Very simple table. The first way of doing a table. Maybe we will see other ways to do tables during this training, but for now it will be our first way. So I will deselect everything, and maybe I will just come back to this to the top of the table and scale it up a little, just to have, yeah, this kind of shape that is more like a table. So you can play after with your objects. But what is good is that you can rename it first to organize them. So here it will be the top, let's call it top, and here it will be leg. Good. I will just copy that, and it will be the same for the other legs. Okay. And when you have a name that is already here into Blender, Blender makes it with another number like this, so you have automatically leg 01, leg 02, leg 03. Okay, good. So now we have a collection, and this collection will be the table, because we rename everything well. And now I would like my table to be on the ground. So here if we imagine that here it's a ground, okay, the x-axis here, so we have to select everything and make a GZ to put it there, and with the control key you should go directly where you want. Okay, and now we have our table well in place. But what if I want to move everyone at once? So I can select everything with aim, but let's say I have other objects, like for example if we imagine that we have other objects in the scene or whatever, or other furnitures like that. If I select everything, everyone will come. Okay, and it will be easier to have a kind of master, and that's why we will use the control P, the make parent. So first relationship, it will be parent children. So let's go there. Here we will add here a master. This master will be an empty, and we will choose a sphere. It doesn't matter really the shape, it's just an empty anyway, so the easiest to control is the best, and to catch is the best. So the sphere is easy to catch for me. You can change the radius here, okay, if you want, if you need, and after you just have to select everything with the empty at last. Okay, so the empty has to be the active object and has to be in yellow. If it's another object that will be in yellow, it will be all the other objects that will be parented to this one. It's not what we want. It's this one that we want in yellow and all the other objects in orange. So let's do this only for, let's say, 2 objects. For example, this one and parented to this one. Control P, set parent to object. Now we have 2 relationships lines, and we can see that if I take my empty and then I move, I will have only these 2 objects that will follow. Okay, so now if I do the same by selecting everything and the empty in yellow, I can make a Control P and set parent to object. Good. So it's perfect like this. Let's say I would like some thinner legs, so I will take maybe this leg here and make a S Shift Z, okay, and make it a little thinner. Good. And then I will do something magical that I didn't show you yet, is the Shift R. It will repeat the last operation, so very handy if you want to repeat exactly the same thing for another object. Okay, so Shift R, repeat the last operation. And here now we have something different, but it didn't change the global shape of my table here, and I still can move it like that. Okay, so what is good with this is that the objects are still independent, they can move themselves, but the parent will always be the master, like this. Okay, so interesting one and very useful for this kind of feature. What is important to understand too, it gives the possibility, for example, to give different kind of modifiers for each object, something that wouldn't be possible, because if we make, for example, a Control J for all these objects, the join, okay, it will make only one object there, and if I add a modifier, it will be to all these objects. But let's say I would like to add a modifier here. Let's say a modifier, let's say bevel. Where is the bevel? It's here. Okay, let's say the bevel, and I will have this kind of shape. Okay, and let's say for that one, I would like to have another kind of modifier, maybe. So maybe I will add an array on a screw or whatever, maybe an array, let's say. Okay, and I can have like these different objects and different modifiers. So I will have a more, let's say, powerful table. Okay, so for the Control P, that's it. Control P. Now let's say you want to remove the parenting of the object. So you can go into the object options here, and if you go into the relations here, you will have the parent that is an empty. If you remove this with the cross, you can see that the relationship is removed. But if I do a Control Z here and I select my object and I make Alt P, I can just clear parents. Okay, and this menu here is a little important, because if you move, for example, the table and you say, okay, I want apply and I want to unparent my my leg here, so I will make Alt P. But if I make clear parent here, my object will come back where it was in the beginning, because it doesn't take the data of this object anymore. Okay, so I just do Control Z. If I want to keep it here, I just make a Alt P and make clear parent and keep transformation, and like that I'm sure that it will stay there. But now my table is without the leg like that. Okay, so I just make Control P again, set parent to object, and this one I will make Alt G to put it in the center again. So this is the first option, the parent. Okay, but there is a possibility to make a link between objects. So maybe I will just create a new collection here. Okay, and this collection will be links, just to show you another one. So when I add here a monkey, So we have a monkey, and we did see that when we duplicate the object monkey with Shift D and with Alt D, we have different things. With Shift D we have a completely new object, so completely free. If I move something inside in edit mode, you can see it doesn't change the orders, but with Alt D it creates a kind of linked object, and we can create these links manually if we want. Okay, you can see that here I will have the possibility to change the two objects at once. So we have the possibility to make links directly, but not only for objects that are just like this. We have the possibility to make it okay, good, with different data. So let's go. And for example, let's say I will add here a modifier to my Suzanne. So this first modifier will be, for example, subdivision surface, and I put it at 2 to have really something smooth. And then I make a right click and shade smooth to have really something smooth. And I will add a modifier array. And into this modifier array here, I will increase the count. And like this, I will have 5 Suzannes like this. And I will move my array a little like that and a little like that to have a little modifier, an interesting modifier, let's say. Okay, and we have these two modifiers, and we will add other objects into our scene, like a UV sphere, okay, and maybe a cone, okay, and maybe a cylinder to make the examples good. So let's say I would like to add exactly the same modifiers to that one. So the first solution is I go to this one, and I remember what I did here. I did make a count here, 1 here, 1.4 here, 0.4 here, and I put exactly the same data into that one. I add a modifier and everything. Manually it will take time, but if I just select this object and shift click with this object, the object with the modifier has to be the active object in yellow, and you make a Control L and you just use here the make links modifiers. It will put the same modifiers into the sphere. And even if you have, for example, multiple objects selected like this one and this one, okay, it will be exactly the same. Control L modifiers, and it will make the same. Okay, so you can see that it can be very powerful for this kind of system. And it doesn't work only with modifiers. As you can see, when you make a Control L, sorry, here, you have a lot of possibilities. So let's say if I take object data, for example, and I put Suzanne with inside in edit mode, I will just move this like that. And let's say I would like to make my sphere be a Suzanne. So I just make a Control L and I make object data. And now it's a Suzanne without the modifiers, but it's a Suzanne with the same ear that I did modified here. Okay, so can be interesting to manage that too. I make Control Z just to come back and show you other examples. So it's possible to do it with animations, if you did put an animation data into your object, or to put collection, but yeah, this is not really useful because you will just put it in the same collection and it will work. You have the possibility to use fonts for your text if you have several text with the same font, for example. And you have the modifier and you have the material, and this one is interesting too, because let's say I would like my Suzanne to be red. Okay, so I go into the material and I will add a material to say that my Suzanne will be red. I will add a new material and I will say this material will be the red material. Okay, and this one will be red. Right, we see absolutely nothing here. Why? Because we are not into rendered view. Okay, we can see in rendered view or here in development, the lookDev here, we have the possibility to see our Suzanne. Okay, so it's red, and the other object doesn't have material, so they are with nothing, and just white. So if I want to link and to make the same material to this one, the red material, I just make the Control L and materials. And like this, I'm sure that they share the same material. And here you can see that here there is a little 2 that tells that they have the same material, that this material is used with 2 objects. Okay, so interesting one. And that's it for the relationships in Blender, what you can do with it. So you have the parents and the links, and there is too, for sure. And if you have a look into your objects that are here, there is the collections too. That is a kind here of relationships that you can group your objects into collections, but we did see this already. Okay, so that's it for relationships. The next video will be about the quick shortcuts and the context menus.